I collected this birch tree in March of 2022. We're now in April of 2025, so it's been 3 years it's been sitting in this bonsai pot. When I collected it, I stuck it straight into this bonsai pot, not because of the look of it, but it was the perfect size for the root ball that came with the collected trees. So one of the most important things when you're collecting trees and helping them recover after the collection is maintaining the water balance in the pot. That means not keeping them too wet and not letting them dry out. So the best way to do that is to have as small a pot as you can that will fit the tree comfortably. That means they don't have big areas of soil that are not occupied by roots, because those areas of soil will stay wet and ultimately that will inhibit new root growth from the tree. So we put it in this pot to help root recovery. It's been 3 years now, which is quite a long time. I noticed when I was watering that water was pooling on top, not draining through. So that's what you might often hear from a lot of professionals as loss of percolation, where the water doesn't fall through the pot when you water it. And that's a really good indicator that the pot is full of roots. So we're going to repot, free up some space for growth of new roots, and keep progressing this tree because it's growing really nicely. Sip of coffee. Here we go, slides out easily. Really solid growth of roots on all sides. The roots have totally encompassed the drainage screens. They're entangled in there. Okay, next I'm going to loosen up the top layer of the soil. I'm going to see if we can find any extra pieces of nebari that might have been buried in the first repot. Root growth and root recovery is particularly important in collected material. You might find if you buy some collected material, or if like me I've totally forgotten how I secured this in. I might have buried a lot of nebari in there just for the purposes of keeping the tree stable and encouraging more root growth. So there might be a lot of nebari we can find under here. Let's take a look and see. Now when we're using our chopstick, I'm keeping a fairly tight grip on it up in my palm here, but I'm keeping it loose down below. So when you drag it, you can feel the tension that comes as you drag it across the root surface. So it allows you to go quite hard if you need to get through some tough bits, but it also lets you back off and be a bit more gentle if there's areas you don't want to damage. Found a root here that was buried at this is the back side of the tree here. So this was buried underneath all the moss that has grown over the top. I don't know if I buried it intentionally or not. And it's got a new side root here, which isn't particularly exciting to look at yet, but that is something that could develop into a thicker piece of nebari over time. So I'm gonna try and look after that and make sure we don't damage it. Now that I've freed up the top, I'm going to remove the bottom pad of roots. When I'm coming down through here, I'm trying to keep this even and flat as much as I can. Ugh. Soil on my sleeve. These mats of roots can be one of the causes of poor drainage through the soil. They're completely overgrown on top of the drainage holes, then water can't exit the pot. That means the tree's going to stay wet, and when it's too wet, it's not going to grow roots properly. That's why we need to get in here and sort this out. I've cleared the bottom. I'm going to tip this up and clear the sides now. These circling roots going around the outside of the pot, they're not good roots for the tree, and they kind of make a mess and get in the way of everything. So I'm going to prune those away. The next thing I'm going to do is keep working on the root ball, trying to target areas where I can find the soil that was part of the collected root ball. That soil is quite a different composition from the domesticated aggregate type soils that we use in bonsai cultivation. For bonsai we use basically rocks like akadama, pumice, lava. These are all volcanic rocks and they allow really free drainage of water, but also they allow air to flow through the root system. And that's what gives us really awesome root growth through the root ball. There's a lot of the black stuff. I'm going to try and get as much of it as I can. I'm going to leave other parts of the root ball untouched. The tree will keep growing well if I do that. Got a bunch of dead roots in here. It's not root rot. It's not the dreaded root rot. You do get roots that die off in pots. So if you're repotting a tree and it's otherwise healthy and fine, don't freak out and overreact if you find a dead root or two. Especially if, like this, I'm finding them in the wetter area of soil. It's absolutely sodden. Like if I squeeze it, it starts dripping. And that's not a good place for the tree to grow roots, and so it won't. It'll start to reallocate its resources to growing roots in the parts of the root ball where it's more favourable. And you can see here, I've cleared an area of the root ball where there's now no soil, pretty much, and that is fine. That's actually what we want to do in specific targeted areas where we're being tactical about it. We don't want to do that to the whole thing, but for targeted areas where we know we've got bad soil, that's a really good thing to do for the health of the tree. Okay, so we've managed to really get a lot of black soil coming out of here. There's still more in there. You see how I pull that out? Oh, bugger. These are dead roots in that black soil, but it shows that the tree is reallocating growth to the newer domesticated soil. Out it comes, get all this stuff. I've dug out as much of that black soil as I can from the root ball. Going to put it back into its pot. I'm putting it back into the same pot just because I don't have any others that look better. I'm going to give it another couple of years in that pot with a mostly pumice soil mix to really encourage good root growth. I've worked out how I'm going to tie the tree in. There's a nice root here, here, and one on this side. So 3 points of stability. Tying it in 3 places should make it rock solid. Okay, so for tie down I need 2 wires here, 2 wires here, and 2 over here. Okay, we've got the tie down wires in. I'm going to fill it up with soil and get the tree in. So the tree is tied in. I'm now going to fill in the gaps in the root ball. And I'm going to fill in soil into all these gaps using my chopstick. So the new soil is in. I've chopsticked really thoroughly to make sure that I've filled in all of those gaps in soil that I introduced in the root ball. And now I'm just going to sweep away the excess, top dress the tree and water it down. So there we have it. The tree's repotted, top dressed and ready to go outside for a thorough water. Then I'm going to put it in a sheltered, shady spot to recover from the repot for a couple of months before going back to its usual spot in the garden. If you want to know more about the method I use when I'm repotting, then you might want to check out this video here, which is a full demonstration of my repotting process that I've been developing over the past 10 years. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.